Katyonko as we introduce our arrival on the Topster platform. Call +26095 4154 901. Katyonko.
Asking for help. So it's a Thursday and it's your favorite show of your week, and we are back on your screens.
You know, Jesus interacted among them. He went with the tax collectors. He went, it says, hey, Zacchaeus, I'm having
that began before the beginning began. He that will never end, even if end was to end.
Pride, you wiped away my tears.
Very good. Cannot have any faults whatsoever. Therefore,
Hello everyone, it's a beautiful Thursday and welcome to the Art Embodiment Show, your favorite show of the week, a show where we bring to you love, talent and inspiration. And in the house today we have a knowledge bank. You actually see for yourself, we have Mr. Kauta Mwale in the house, and he's going to talk about Man for Her. And he's actually the founder of the organization called Man for Her. Welcome to the show, sir.
Thank you very much, Vincent.
It's actually a pleasure having you in the house.
No, the pleasure is all mine.
I'm actually very eager to learn from you. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So, can you kindly tell us a bit about yourself?
Well, I'm a very simple person, really. Professionally, I'm a lawyer, though I'm not a practicing one, and I run a business. And I'm also the founder and executive director for the organization Man Up for Her. It basically started off as a debate that we had with a number of gentlemen, and then it just clicked, and then we decided, look, I think this is a very good idea. It's something that we can actually run with and fight for. So we dubbed it the Man Up for Her campaign because we decided, look, there's a lot of things that are happening in this world, and then you, as men, we were initially the custodians of this earth, and biblically we were given the mantle to be the head of a family unit. So we are actually responsible for everything else that will go wayward in a family unit. So, yeah, so we got there.
Yeah, so getting straight to the main issue, do you think a man is where he's supposed to be today, looking at how things are?
No, I don't think so, because look, first and foremost, we can also, not to digress, but then we can try to appreciate the notion of feminism, you know, the advent of feminism. Feminism is basically an offshoot of the failures of men to perform in their particular role. Mm-hmm. You know, we were given this responsibility over a family unit, okay? But then there are some men that have failed to perform those roles, and there are some men that have abused those roles. So now you find that over the years, the women felt disgruntled, and then now they have stepped out of what they're supposed to be traditionally their roles to try and challenge, you know, the patriarchal system because they believe now, look, man has used their position to sort of like abuse the women and, you know, suppress them, oppress them. So the fact that we've got feminism is a clear indication that as men, we have failed in our role, okay? Because look at the things that feminists fight for, okay? These are things that if a man would take care of his own, okay? If we would love the women, I mean, there's no reason for them to begin to fight for their place, okay, when we actually know their place and can love them with it. But then there's been a lot of abuse. And now we've got all these feminist groups trying to fight. We've got GBV now, you know, we've got defilement, rape case, and in the increase. And the media now has brought these things to light. And every day is never a news item, you know, different media where you want to learn that somebody was raped, somebody was, you know, sexually assaulted in one way or the other. Now, these women groups are actually up in arms against the perpetrators. Okay? Now, as an organization, we strongly believe that these perpetrators are not born. Nobody is born a rapist. Yeah. Okay? We believe, if you look at philosophy, there's the philosopher John Locke. He opined a particular line of philosophy where he says when people are born, we're born with what is known as tabula rasa. Okay? We're born with a clean slate. Our mind is a clean slate. Now, whatever you go through in your environment begins to make the kind of person that you are. Now, running with that idea, you begin to appreciate that nobody is born a rapist, nobody is born a child defiler, nobody is born a sexual monster. But then, from a personal observation, I believe that in our formative years, especially during adolescence, we tend to pick up certain vices because of a lack of guidance. You know, the other gender, the women, they have a rites of passage, you know. When a girl comes of age, you know, they've got these lessons that are imparted onto them. But with guys at puberty, nobody's ever going to sit down with you and probably discuss sex or, you know, how to treat the opposite sex. And now we learn most of these things as we go. You know, we've got older kids that would probably propose, you know, I kissed that girl last night. You're curious, how do you go about it? You know, because there's also this anxiety that you have as a teenager. So how did you go about it? And then he tells you, just ran up to her, grabbed her, kissed her, and ran off. You get it? So because you're anxious, you also want to experience that. Chances are you try that method out. Yeah. Now, unfortunately, if you try that out and then you succeeded, you know, nobody changes a winning formula. You understand? So to you, you adopt it as a way to kiss the girls. And there are a lot of vices that we have. I think you agree with me. Growing up, there are certain things that we have done. You know, some of us who went to village boarding schools, there will be times when you go and fetch water at the river, and then you find the girls bathing, and then you be there peeping. You get the point? Yeah. These are things that when you are young, you know, you're 13, you're 14, it's fun and you get away with it. You understand? Way back in primary, there'll be those that would toss a mirror between a girl's legs and you'll be watching the mirror and you'll be laughing. You know, when you're young, those are things that you go through. You know, you see, at some point, you need to learn that this is a childish game. It does not have to cross over to the other side. And unfortunately, because of a lack of guidance, imagine a teenager who has gone through his entire adolescence, doing all those things, and they've practically worked for him. For him to drop that vice, for him to drop that habit, it becomes difficult because he does not know anything else apart from what he's been doing.
Yeah, so like, how do they go about it now? How do they break that habit?
Now, this is what we are trying to, as an organization, we believe there's a mantra that we go for. It says it's easier to raise responsible boys than to heal broken men. Okay? Because once you cross that barrier, now you are a man. You know, they say you don't teach an old dog new tricks. It's done. You've got a rapist's mind. Yeah. You've got a mind where you think if you stay alone and a woman comes to visit you in your one-room apartment, then she definitely wants to sleep with you. You get the point. When the opposite is actually the truth, sometimes she just wants to come and talk. You get this thing. But then if that's what you've been doing, every chance that you've been alone in your room and a woman comes there, you take advantage of her, you grow into it. So what we've done as an organization is we've got quite a number of peer educators within our system. We're trying to re-educate the boy. You know, we're trying to teach the boy that, you know, when you're older and you take advantage of a woman at the place of work, it's going to be, you know, sexual harassment charges will come about. But believe it or not, grade 10s, grade 11s, get away with sexual harassment within the classroom. You get the point. And because at that age, it's horseplay. So what we're trying to do is we're trying to re-educate, where we can actually sit down with a group of boys. We're using different methods, with arts, you know, sports, where we try and just target a sports group and an art group, where we play along with them, and then sit them down and then raise the topic about women. You know, let's see how they respond. And most of them have learned a lot, because you find that when you're posing questions, you know, you ask a simple question like, if a girl knows you live alone at home, okay, and then she comes over, what does she want? It's an unanimous answer they'll get. No, she wants to, but that's not true. But you see, it's because it's a mindset that has been inculcated without counsel. You know, this is something that you learn from your peers. He did it. It worked for him. You want to kiss the girl, you want to touch the girl, you do this. So now we're trying to re-educate them. Also with my legal background, we're trying to also bring about the issue of sexual offenses, where we just give a lecture, you know, about, you know, what rape is. You know, like the first time I told a group of boys to say, even if she accepts, she knows that's what she's coming for, you know. At any point that she changes her mind, if you push that limit, it actually becomes rape. Most of them were shocked, you know. Even midway through the act, if she changes her mind, it becomes rape. Anything after that, and these are things that most boys didn't know, you know. So we're trying to, you know, if they do that, but then there's some sort of education that is imparted on them to say this is wrong. They'll probably do it because they're young, but at the back of the mind, they'll know it is wrong. And at some point, you reach an age where you stop doing what is wrong because you know you can no longer get away with it under the pretext of being young. Okay, so that's what we are trying to do actually as an organization.
Yes, looking at the point you alluded earlier, you said a man is the head of the house. Now, a man being the head of the house, where does a woman fall now in that case?
Well,
or what is the role of the head of the house? Like, is he the one who is supposed to tell a woman what she's supposed to do? And
no, first and foremost, you know, it's a little bit of a tricky situation because you also want to be politically correct on the issue. But if I would advance my thoughts, look, when it's a biblical impartation of responsibility to say a man is the head of the house. That being said, your woman is a partner. You understand, and her being your partner does not really mean you are in charge of her to oppress her, you know. And I think that's where we may have missed the point, because today sometimes I post certain comments on social media just to test the women. We talk about things like submission. You hear how they're going to protest, but then look. Submission is not an issue of, it's not an oppression tool. Yeah. Okay. Now, unfortunately, there are a number of men actually that feel it's an oppression tool. They use submission to oppress the woman, and that is where it's backfiring with the feminism advent. You understand?
What does it actually mean to submit to a man? Now,
the submission there, this is my view. You're actually submitting to love. You understand? Yeah. You submit to love. Because I may not quote the Bible verse by verse, but then you see, the Bible says that a man should love his wife as Christ loved the church. Now, if you're going to ask yourself a question, how did Christ love the church? You know, first and foremost, Christ's love for even humanity itself, it says that we know this, that he loved us because whilst we were yet sinners, he came and died for our sins. So, to me, it draws a line to say when we try to justify what love is, you don't love your woman because she is kind to you. She can be anything else. She can even be rebellious.
Yeah.
But yours is to love. You get the point? Because you're comparatively, you're trying to look at how Christ embraces us as a people. Whilst we're yet sinners, he still says, I would still die for you.
Yeah.
You know? So it's a big responsibility that we have. You get the point? But then the woman, when she submits, she is submitting to love, really, the way I look at it. So it becomes a team. You get the point? But because there's no anarchy in the way God does things. I mean, even the Trinity has got a hierarchy. You get the point? There's no anarchy with the way God does things. So even marriage, it's one thing. You are one. You get the point? But because you're two entities, okay, there must be one providing direction, and then there must be one who's providing the balance. So to me, really, a woman submits to the man, but the man provides the direction. So he's the one who protects his family. He's the one who provides for his family. But the woman takes care of that family. You understand? So we, as men, we have sort of like used the submission theory to suppress a woman. She can't protest if you make a bad decision. You know, she can't challenge your intentions. She can't question why you're doing something. But that is not submission, because the woman is actually supposed to be able to help you steer the family ship. So if you decide, look, this month the money we're getting, we're going on vacation because I've worked too hard, I'm tired. But then she knows that after this money, there won't be any other money, and then she raise the issues, the bills, there's what. She's not being insubordinate. If she's not even being unsubmissive, that's her role. She's supposed to be your guide. You know, no, but we can't do this. We're supposed to do this. So,
is it right to say that feminism it's an act of women rising up when the men when they don't really understand the role of a woman?
Yeah, look, feminism for all purposes. Look at the issue that feminists raise. Actually, it's because a man has a role, but then you abuse that role. Like we're talking about submission. An average man takes submission to be shut up, keep quiet, sit down, only speak when you're spoken to. That is submission as far as an average man is concerned. You get the point. Now, you know that if you have ever been in a situation where you're at a round table meeting, and then every suggestion, every objection, every contribution you want to raise is being shut down, it becomes a little bit frustrating. Now, over time, it becomes very frustrating. So I believe feminism is just an offshoot of that frustration, where women now feel, you know what, enough is enough. Let's rebel, let's do this. But I think that's actually unnecessary. It's never too late. We can still go back and re-educate the next generation of men. To say, look, women will be women, and women being who they are, they've got certain weaknesses and certain shortcomings themselves. But then our role as men ought to be played to the letter. Once we stand up and be able to do what we're supposed to do in the right manner, you find that feminism can be rendered obsolete. Because you cannot fight a cause that is non-existent. If you're being oppressed, it's easy for you to rise up and challenge that oppression. But if there's no oppression, what are you fighting against? Okay? So that is the issue with feminism. So I believe we should be able to stand up. Okay, now for this particular campaign, we're trying to say, look, stand up for her.
Not for yourself, but for
her. No, we're already on firm footing. Okay? We're already on firm footing because as men, we're given this world. You get the point? Like it is ours, it's our pedestal. Okay? But then we're given a responsibility to be able to bring forth the next generation with partners. And if we are going to frustrate these partners, then it becomes a problem. So we are, like for example, if you were assaulted by your woman, believe it or not, it becomes difficult for you to go and say, I've been assaulted. Why?
Is it because the word has been given to you?
I mean, it's you know. First and foremost, we know that half the time it's not in, maybe out of frustration, depending on the environmental setup on which she was raised, but it is never really in the woman's interest to be the perpetrator of violence, because half the time she knows it's not about if she's going to win physically.
Yeah.
So, but with guys, I think we are given a bigger responsibility, and we are failing in that responsibility. So as an organization, we are trying to, wind back the clock, try and re-educate the guys that are forthcoming. We need to tell them how to be a gentleman.
So in a minute time, like, what can you tell a woman who is watching this show, like right now?
Well, I would love, wow. But I think, first and foremost, I think it would be, the work that we're doing also is a little bit frustrated, because I think the women have lost confidence in the fact that actually men can actually be able to steer the ship. So I think there are those of us who are still there who believe that there are certain things that a man should play, certain roles that he should live up to, that will leave a woman secure. She doesn't have to fight for her security.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it also would become frustrating if you struck off every man as being a bad man. So I think for the women that are watching, that would be the message I would try and deliver.
Then what can be the message that you would give to the men?
Well, it's simple. Stand up for her. You need to man up, and yeah.
Yeah. So what do you think is the actual cause for this whole thing? Is it identity crisis, or maybe it's the belief system that we have been raised up with and whatnot?
No, I think there's nothing wrong with the belief system, and there's nothing wrong with the identity crisis. It's just that, they say power corrupts, and absolute power corrupts, absolutely. So when you're given a mandate to make decisions, sometimes on behalf of others, when you begin to make decisions suited to your favor, it creates a problem. And I think that's where the man image is right now. So we need to correct that image. We need to do right by the women. I mean, I'm not really going to sit here and excuse the women and say all women are okay.
Yeah.
There are a lot of them that are going to mess with your head, But then I think that aside, as men, we need to man up and be there and do the right thing.
Yeah, so you raised a very good point when you said, you mentioned something to say a woman is supposed to submit to love. Well, what did you mean by love? Like, can you call it love where you as a man, you are working, you come from work, you bring some food for the house and whatnot?
Well, those are roles. Those are responsibilities that we have.
Yes.
Like I said, as a man, your responsibility is to provide protection. You shelter them, clothe them, educate them, feed them. Those are roles. You get the point. But I think love is exactly what it is, as has been defined in 2 Corinthians. And unfortunately, you can read the whole Bible cover to cover. I have never come across where it says a woman should love the husband.
Yeah,
it always says submission.
So wait, does a woman supposed to love the husband, or it's just natural for them?
If she's capable of keeping no record of wrong. Yeah, but then I feel I believe the Bible is deliberate on that, because there are certain things about love that probably the way we know women, you get the point. But I think when a woman is loved, submission is natural in them. Yeah. Just like love is natural in a man. You get the point. That's why you find that even when you're growing up, as a man would come and say, I'm asking for a lift. You've got a 2-seater vehicle. And you'd be like, okay, I'll see.
Yeah.
As I'm waiting for you to see, a woman comes and says, I'm asking for a lift. Even if you've got no intention of dating her, the fact that she's a woman automatically, tea. And I'll be like, boy, the car is filled up. You get the point.
Yeah.
So we're wired to love. We're wired to be like that. We're wired to provide for the women, to protect them. If you're walking down the road, you find a guy being beaten, you ask Ashita-chan. If you find down the road, you find a woman being beaten, you won't even ask, you want to protect her. So we are wired like that, just like women are wired to submit. The moment you are showing her love and all these things, you can see that she change the kind of person that she becomes towards you.
Yeah, so it's a very interesting question, sir. What would you like to be remembered for?
Well, I'm a champion of justice. And I think in everything that we do, I would love to be the level-headed one, the one who made fair decisions, the one who did right. Obviously, can't do right by everybody because we've got different perceptions. Yeah. But on a general tone, I think it's right. I'm the kind of person who, whether when I hurt you or I do something against you, whether deliberately or inadvertently, when you bring it to me, I've got that kind of conscience that I'll give it and say, okay, I think I made that mistake. So I believe as a just person, I think that is something that I advocate for and something that I actually would love to see in myself more. Yeah.
Wait, just a quick question. How do you define justice or being just? What is being just?
Well, if you're going to look at, well, it's a lot to talk about. But I think, first and foremost, I think justice, the very bedrock of justice would be when you employ fairness even when the other person is disadvantaged. Oh, yeah. You get the point? Yeah. If I've been given money by a particular individual to say, can you share? This is 1,000, share 500 with him, 500 with yourself. You have got no idea how much money has been given. You get the point? If I can honestly come and give you your actual share, I think it's a very good bedrock for justice. Because being fair is us saying, okay, let's share equally. Yeah. But I think justice goes a notch beyond, because I'll share equally with you something that you have got no idea is yours. So I think, yeah.
And any closing remarks, like just to someone who is watching the last?
Well, especially for the young men out there, I think it is important for us to man up for the woman, ensure that there are certain attributes that you do, certain attributes that you feel and take for granted that are done towards the woman. I think those are things that you should restrain and always refocus and ask yourself, is this the right thing that I'm about to do? And for the women out there, I think it's not a hope is lost. I think don't treat every man as a monster. I think there are a number of men that we can work together with to actually alleviate their situation.
Okay, so how can they get in touch with you on Facebook and whatnot?
Well, we've got a page on Facebook, the Man Up For Her campaign. You can search for that. It's also got numbers listed there that you can call directly, or my Facebook page. Though I've got another Facebook page that is basically left for politics. But yeah, my Facebook profile, Kauta Mantuntamwale.
Right, thank you so much
thank you very much
for coming, sir. Thank you so much for tuning into the Art Embodiment Show. And don't forget, if you want to watch this video, you can just go on YouTube, just go on the search button and write Prism Africa TV / the Art Embodiment Show, and you are going to find this interview, the full interview actually. Thank you so much for tuning in. Till we see you next week. It's a bye-bye.
Asking for help. So it's a Thursday and it's your favorite show of your week, and we are back on your screens.
You know, Jesus